This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad and live today. Temptations come in the form of something you are lacking or something that benefits you personally, and they are always enticing, giving you that illusion of immediate satisfaction. When we sit down at a restaurant for a meal, we surely are tempted to eat the entire basket of chips and salsa that is sitting right there in front of us. I mean, they're right there. They're free, and it tastes oh so good. In addition, there are restaurants that serve bottomless bread baskets and bottomless French fry baskets, and I just heard that there is a place that serves bottomless broccoli. Sorry, hard pass from me. But I am a sucker for a pizza buffet. I just can't stop. I'm tempted to eat a piece of every single kind of pizza and then some. I usually succumb to my inner cravings and then I roll myself out of the restaurant at the end of the night. In our minds, these food temptations please our senses. They smell so good. They taste delicious. They aren't hurting anyone. Yet they can end up hurting us as they are strictly self-serving, overindulgent, and inwardly focused. And here we are just talking about food. Imagine how many other ways we are tempted in life. I vividly remember a time in my high school physics class when I was tempted to cheat on a test. Now, I'm not meaning for this to become some moment of confession in front of people, but I admit I did cheat. I mean, everyone was doing it. Yes, literally, everyone in my class cheated. Still didn't make it right, though. Our teacher had left the room to run up to the principal's office for one reason or another. We were studying for the test the next day. Well, one of my classmates noticed that our teacher had printed out the test and he had left it sitting right there on the printer. And not only did it have all the questions for the test, but it had every single answer. Immediately, everyone sprang to action. My buddy John ran over to the pencil sharpener by the door, and he sharpened his pencil for the next 5 minutes, peeking his head outside the door to see whether our teacher would be returning or not. 4 other students huddled over the test frantically, scribbling down the things that they saw on the paper. Then suddenly, my friend Kevin, he whips out a video recorder from his backpack. You know, one of those old school behemoths that recorded with a VHS tape and that rested right there on your shoulder. He began videotaping the test pages so that we would have the knowledge that we needed. At this point, I am laughing so hard at what has transpired in front of my very eyes. It was an absolute circus, and I was being swept up in it. We as a class were tempted by an examination, sitting on the printer, on our teacher's desk, and I will tell you, we fell hard. There are a ridiculous amount of temptations that are out there in the world that seek our attention, and many are much, much worse than overindulging in food consumption and cheating on a physics test. But they all pale in comparison to the temptations that Jesus faced. In the beginning of Luke's Gospel, Jesus enters into the wilderness for 40 days where he is tempted by Satan. After rebuffing Satan for a 3rd time, Luke says that the devil departed from him until an opportune time. Jesus had resisted the temptations that were placed in front of him. But this wouldn't be the end. More temptations were to come. And we read about one of those instances in our gospel reading today from Mark. Here's the scene. Jesus has his disciples huddle around him, and he uses this moment to foretell his death and resurrection to the people he cares most about. He told them everything about how it was going to go down, that he would suffer, that he would be rejected by all the authorities, that he would be killed, and that 3 days later he would rise from the dead. Well, all this information didn't sit very well with Peter. He had just boldly proclaimed that Jesus is the Messiah, and he's the first one to proclaim this. And here Jesus is saying all these awful things that are going to happen to him? No way! It can't be. It must not happen. Peter pulls Jesus aside and rebukes him for the things that Jesus is saying. Stop talking crazy, Jesus. It doesn't have to be this way. But it does. All along, Jesus knows that he is the answer to humanity's salvation. He is the way and the truth and the life. If people are going to find reconciliation and forgiveness with their God, it must go through Jesus. All these things that Jesus said, they have to happen. Jesus turns to Peter and rebukes him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." And there it is. There you have it. A more opportune time. Jesus is tempted to consider what is being said by Peter. Now, I can't help but think that in Jesus' humanity, he actually weighed this decision, even if just for a little bit. I know we all would have done that. I'm sure that Peter's words were a little bit like chocolate silk pie to Jesus' ears. Hey, Jesus, you are the Messiah. You don't have to die. You are the Son of God. You are the man. It doesn't have to be this way. Well, Jesus' mind probably races back and forth. You know, Peter is kind of right. I am the Messiah. I'm the man. I can do what I want. I don't have to put up with all this. I don't need all this questioning. I don't need the abuse. And I certainly don't need to die. Nope, not gonna happen. Not today. Maybe I could just retire at that all-new inclusive beach resort on the Mediterranean. You know, that place where no one knows me. But Jesus doesn't run away. He doesn't succumb to temptation. He didn't do it in the wilderness, and he doesn't do it here right now. He knows what his destiny is. Jesus is fully aware of God's salvation plan for his people, a people who have not been strong, a people who have sinned, who have failed, who have let temptation override their whole beings, a people who are unable to live up to the expectations that God places right in front of them, a people just like you and me. Jesus calls out Peter. He squashes the temptation and he moves on. He does this because we cannot do it ourselves. Time and time again, we come up short and temptation gets the best of us. Well, Jesus says that it doesn't have to be that way. Through his actions, Jesus ensures that when we do sin, when we err, when we stumble, when we fall, when we just plain mess up, our God will be there. Our God will not forsake us, abandon us, or quit loving us. Ever. For any reason. God's arms are always open in a wide embrace, welcoming his children back into the fold, despite our rebellious behavior. Our God is ready to love us, just the way we are, flaws and all because of Jesus, because he resisted temptation, because he stuck to God's salvation plan, because he embraced his own destiny, because he died on the cross. Jesus makes all things possible, and for that reason, we praise and we exalt his holy name. Amen. Remember as you go about your day that yesterday is gone, tomorrow does not yet belong to you. So why not live today, knowing that you never walk alone? See y'all next week. Later.